Hey everybody, and welcome back to the final episode of this week. Here at the Daily Drive, our goal is for you to know Jesus a little better so you can live like him a little more. I'm excited about today's content, and so let's go ahead and dive in. Yesterday, I tried to help you understand why it's so important for you to follow Jesus as the Messiah. He's the one who has been anointed by God and appointed by God to defeat sin and death on our behalf, to defeat enemies that none of us could defeat on our own. Jesus has done that for us. Now, as great as that is, we also need to recognize that the very problem that created our need for Jesus is the same reason it's so hard for us to live for Jesus on a daily basis. Sin is a very real problem in our lives and in our world. It created our need for Jesus to come, and it is the reason it's so hard for us to live for Jesus every day. And so Jesus tells his followers that if you're going to follow me, you have to embrace a lifestyle of self-denial. In fact, here's how Jesus said it in Mark 8:34 through 37. Then he called the crowd to him along with his disciples and said, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me and for the gospel will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world and yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul?" See, we live in a world, guys, that's all about self-gratification. And yet Jesus calls us to a life of self-denial. He calls us to die to sin. He calls us to give up our old ways of life. Why? Because he knew the very thing that created our need for Jesus also makes it hard for you to live for Jesus. And so let me ask you today, where do you need to deny yourself? Right now, we're in the middle of a season called Lent. It's a season where people are giving up something. They're denying themselves for a season. But let me point something out. Jesus didn't just call us to do this spiritual practice just during Lent for 40 days. He wants it to be something that we commit to every day in our lives. In fact, Jesus spent his whole life doing this. Jesus said no to sin so he could say yes to his heavenly Father's will for his life. And if this was true of Jesus, it needs to be true of us. We need to deny ourselves, take up our cross, and follow him.